Welcome to Robin News, where we unpack the stories shaping our reality, both here in Nigeria and across the globe. I'm your host, and today, we have a heavy agenda to get through. We are looking at the intense political dynamics currently unfolding, from the shifting strategies of Nigeria's political opposition coalitions to the urgent, ongoing challenges regarding our internal governance, security, and economic management. But we aren't just staying local. We're also zooming out to examine the global political temperature, specifically, the shocking assassination attempt on President Donald Trump, and what that event implies for the broader political landscape. It is a lot to cover, but it's all connected. Let's dive straight into the facts.
So I'm happy that the NRS have been able to debunk the story on the taxation. I mean, that was false. When you saw that, obviously, you would know that it was headed nowhere. And when you look at what happened in America, I totally condemn those attacks on the lives of President Trump and the people also there. I think some deranged human beings should not even be given the chance in the first place to get into a place like that, to be able to attack people. Whatever his manifesto is, I think it's deranged. But I must also sound a note of warning. Trump should stop dividing America. Because yes, he said people should have their differences and align peacefully. In the press conference afterwards, then he went ahead in an interview in 60 Minutes to berate the lunatic left, like he says, because they were pushing conspiracy theories that this might probably have been staged and all of that. No, it is not for you to divide the country even further. And the sad part we should remember is that this level of division that he has pushed is the reason we are seeing what is happening in America. You have a war in your hands that you've not been able to sort out, that you didn't plan for, that you reneged against your generals by going into, that you've peddled division with what has happened with ICE and with your rhetoric and your very acerbic rhetoric. And division breeds division. Hatred breeds hatred. America has become more hateful under Trump, and we must have to say it. In as much as we condemn the attacks on his life, but we can also let him know that two truths exist. He should stop dividing the country. And that's what he's constantly always done. As regards politics, I totally condemn Governor Seyi Makinde for even bringing it to our memory wet here. And if you go back to the 60s, it was a very terrible time. It was a big contention between Akintola and Awolowo as regards the supremacy in the Southwest, who was going to hold the ace as regards, the political party. They were formerly allies, but they had gone apart. And you can see further readings in that as regards that situation. As regards, I think, Victor Ladoke Akintola's book, I think that's the son of Ladoke Akintola, he wrote extensively about that, and other journals still carry that. As regards the wet year scenario, wet year pretty much means that they put petrol, one wet delay and one political opposition, they put petrol on the houses and they burnt them down. And that was what snowballed into what we call the Wild Wild West in the 60s. And if you remember, these were the occurrences that snowballed into, the 65 elections are very terrible for this country. And these were the things that made the military boys, idealistic in nature, think the way forward was to be able to do away with the political class that made this country go into a war that is not needed. So it was a series of unfortunate events. The Wild Wild West was so terrible that people that lived through the moments, it was always sorrow, tears, and blood. I mean, this was the era that you had all sorts of political bickering and division. It's not needed at this point in time. But also, we must call on the APC. It has now shown with empirical facts that the APC is also doing everything to stop the other political parties, to slide this country to a one-party state. And what are the facts? Look at the scenario where Gbajabiamila was pretty much bragging and say scattered them even more. Look at the scenario in the PDP, with Wike, that is supporting the president, but is supposed to be in an opposition party to the president. Look at many other scenarios. Look at the scenario of the Labour Party. And there was a court judgment since April 2025, and that judgment was not even recognized by INEC. So when INEC is so quick to do the status quo antebellum thing, I'm asking them, what about the court judgment in the Labour Party since April 2025 that Abure should be off there, that was not taken up by INEC, that was just perfected in January 2026? So these are many things we should also call on the ruling party. Please, you see, a democracy thrives in a competitive environment. Competition is the way forward. And INEC should remember that their integrity is already tainted going into this election. You see, we are still talking about the Amukpito forensics and everything. Till today, Amukpito and INEC have not subjected himself as regards his tweets to an independent forensic evaluation. If he doesn't do that, people will still have gray areas about him. So they think that because the news cycle forgets things, that people will not bring it up. It's a lie. It's a lie. And they think it's by bringing their report out that people have already picked holes in their forensic reports. It's not going to work until he subjects to a independent forensic evaluation. As regards, does he have the account? Did he treat Victory Shaw and all of that? It's not their report we're going to rely on. So, you see, we are saying all of this because we want there to be a transparent system in the election. Sorry, Dr. Abati. We want them to be a transparent system in the election. And in turn, it goes back to the Olusegun Obasanjo interview, that it is just a pure case of leadership. A leadership that's not able to fix insecurity should not be called a leadership. And that's just it. And I think that's what the ruling government should focus on fixing. Because if they don't fix it, there's no way forward. They've not fixed insecurity, a lot of accountability issues. He talked about the refinery. Olusegun Obasanjo said to us then that he got expert advice that if the refinery will not work, that he should sell them off as scrap. He sold them off already to a consortium that I think Dangote was also part of. But some people went to lie to Yaradua. They reversed the sale. Till today, they've been lying as regards that refinery. They lied to Yaradua it was going to work. It didn't work under Yaradua. Now it has not worked again. Maybe when they went to do the blending plant, we told them that it was failure on arrival. Till today, they've also signed for another $3 billion. It has not still worked. So the question is, where is even the accountability for that money in the first place? We all remember how some journalists went there and say, fire is burning, the refinery is working. You can see at my back, fire is burning, refinery is working. It's not by deceiving people. We are not here to deceive people. We tell you the facts. The fact does not care about your feelings. Obasanjo just said it then. See, today is not working. So can we build a society where leadership actually works for the people? And that's the kind of environment we should build. And the ADC and the other parties saying they shall come together. It's not the time the people have been doing coalition and coming together. They did in the time of Olufalai. But have they also fixed their own internal problems? The Supreme Court has reserved judgment. We are yet to see that. Are they all going to work together? Hope they are sure amongst them that there are no moles that are even working for the ruling party. Because you see, people have so much lost morality in our political space that it is all about money. It is all about what they have to get. So they can do meetings from Ibadan to Kutuwenji if they are not ready to work together. And the most important question in the ADC, because I'm seeing the Atiku camp and the Obi camp, both of them are saying it's ours, it's ours, it's ours. In a case where Atiku emerge or Obi emerge, will the other camp concede? If they are not ready to do that, let's forget it as far as I'm concerned. So these are the hard truths I need to tell both of their supporters, because we see they are all daggers drawn now. For democracy to work, we must have viable opposition, and people must be willing to make concessions.
All right. Thank you. Dr. Martin?
Well, it was quite a very busy weekend, whether in the United States or in Nigeria. So let's move from one jurisdiction to the other. In the United States, the president was having at the Washington Hilton what they call the White House Correspondents' Dinner event on Saturday, April 25. Only for that process to be truncated by the assault coming from Cole Thomas Allen, 31-year-old teacher, a C2 teacher in a school in Torrance, California, who had traveled from Los Angeles to Chicago and from Chicago to Washington, D.C. He checked into the Washington Hilton on Friday ahead of the event. And then in the course of the event, armed with a gun and knives, he tried to compromise the process. And then the process was disrupted. Even when it was said that the ceremony could go on, law enforcement decided that it was already a crime scene and that the event could not proceed. So clearly, a very unfortunate incident, the third attack on President Donald Trump since 2024. And this is the first time he will attend a Washington White House Correspondents' Dinner. The first time he did, 1991, he did as a private citizen. The matter is still under investigation. New York Daily Post has published a letter provided by a member of Allen's family, indicating that he had described himself as a friendly federal official assassin, and that in any case he then went ahead and did this. The gentleman has a BSc in mechanical engineering from California Institute of Technology. He has a master's in computer science from the California State University. But the investigators, the acting attorney general, Todd Blanche, says that they are investigating what could have been his motive. But their initial conclusion is that he was targeting federal officials and perhaps President Trump himself. The preliminary investigation has also shown that security protocols were lax, and hence, we're left with this situation. He's supposed to be arraigned today for possession of a weapon, for assault on federal officials, and then, of course, the international community is concerned. Leaders of the world have expressed their shock, their surprise, and you have people from the European Union to other leaders around the world, expressing concern and saying that perhaps the thing that needs to be done is to look at the security protocols in the management of the movement of the president, because the initial conclusion is that security was lax. Even the accused person himself pointed it out in his note. And this is important, considering the fact that the King Charles III of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and his wife, Queen Camilla, are scheduled to arrive in the United States today. And they are going to have afternoon tea at the White House. So that, again, upgrades the level of it, with the Buckingham Palace having said yesterday that the program will go ahead as scheduled. The second important program is what happened again on Saturday in Nigeria, with the political parties, opposition parties, coming together to hold a summit. Ahead of the summit, there had been some drama. Bolaji Abdullahi, spokesperson of the ADC, say, there were attempts to stop them. But in any case, the event went ahead. And then, of course, at that event, the communique says that the opposition parties, 14 opposition parties were there, very prominent members of the opposition. You can name who is who. They were all there. The only persons, the only parties that were not present would be the Wike-led faction of the PDP, would be the African Action Congress, led by Omoyele Sowore, who insists that it was an assemblage of recycled failures, and he will not be seen in that kind of company. So, but in total, out of the 21 political parties, 14 attended. And then, of course, they came up with a communique that they would decide on one presidential candidate, two, that they are opposed to the idea of a one-party state, that they want Joash Amokuton, the chairman of INEC, to either resign or, be sacked. Three, that the Electoral Act 2026 is contentious and that the National Assembly should review, amend, and introduce another Electoral Act 2026. They also said all political detainees should be released. Those were the major pillars in terms of their demand. But of course, the APC has since responded to dismiss it as the grumbling of disgruntled elements. But of course, they achieved their objective. They were able to have their session. They say the opposition should be allowed to thrive. Some of the speakers, starting with Senator David Mark, made it clear that Nigeria is rated number 4 on the Global Terrorism Index, and that at least 15 persons are killed every day. About 19 persons are, kidnapped in Nigeria on a daily basis, and that the ruling government, has lost the plot. Now there are other speakers. They had Mikey Guinea, who talked about having a free and credible election in terms of omissions that he has observed in the Electoral Act. They had Dr. Kabiru Adamu talking about insecurity in the country. They had Professor Patu Tome talking about economic insecurity in the country. And they had the governor, the host governor, Seyi Makinde, talking about how to beware of Operation Waitie. Operation Waitie happened in 1965. And I think that was a metaphor about the kind of situation you are likely to have when the federal government tries to suffocate the regions. And that was a setting in 1965. It was replicated in 1983 and again in 1985. And those who are interested in the story may well read the book by Dare Babarinsa, a veteran journalist, in a book titled House of War, the kind of effect that you can have when federal might is used to suffocate the environment. But I assume that there are two sides to the story. The major statement being put out by the opposition is that when you try to dam an environment, even dams collapse. If you try to use federal might to dam the tendencies, the expectations of the people, that dam can also collapse. The dam collapsed in 1965 in the western region, leading to Operation Waitie, which is an incendiary, combustible, response to political processes, which led to the collapse, in part, of the First Republic. And we saw a reenactment of that in 1983, when the Shagari administration tried to overreach itself. And we saw the episode, the narrative in Dare Babarinsa's House of War in 1985 in Ondo State, where even the media was complicit. It's a very beautiful narrative. Those who have time can go and look for that book. That book, House of War, it's also about politics in Nigeria. So, in other words, I'm giving all of that background to say that it is not something that the Tinubu administration should just dismiss. There may be certain currents to learn from what the opposition was trying to do in Ibadan. Now, the question to now ask is that all of this to what effect? If you look at the opposition people who gathered, one commentator, I think it's Felix Moka, or one of the APC commentators, Mr. Bayo Ononuga, said that it was a collection of individuals, agreed individuals, not political parties. Second, it was also pointed out that all of these persons, even their parties are in disarray. They have internal issues. Who is going to be that one candidate who is going to emerge? I had Sunday Dari, Chief Sunday Dari, I think he's from Ogbomoso, a chief from Ogbomoso, on the program, special advisor, media and information to the president, on This Day Live, the Sunday talk show, yesterday. And it was very skeptical about this assemblage of recycled failures, which is the expression that is being used by Showore. But what all of this shows us is that we need to be concerned about, the democratic process. We also need to be concerned, as they are saying, that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was a leader of NADECO, and that the opposition should be allowed to thrive under his watch. So this is a developing story. We'll see what happens hereafter. Now, as for President Olusegun Obasanjo, he moderated one of the sessions, it is reported, at the Ibadan Declaration, as they call it. He was also, I think, on television, I think Sonny Rabo Live. Yes. Now, two major things from President Obasanjo. He's right on all the things he said. One, that the security and welfare of government, of the people, is the primary responsibility of government. Section 14, sub 2B of the 1999 Constitution. The job of government is to make this environment secure and to make the people of Nigeria happy. So you cannot fault President Obasanjo in that regard. He also said that the refineries, NNPC-owned refineries, Port Harcourt, Warri, Kaduna, can never be revived. I also agree with him. I've always said on this program that those refineries should be sold as scrap because we have seen the extent of their failure measured against the success of the private entrepreneurship of Aliko Dangote, which is a Dangote refinery. Now, if they sell those refineries as scrap, refineries that are just gulping money from Nigeria unnecessarily, in fact, there should be an audit. The people who mismanage those refineries, they should give us more information. So the president is right in that regard to say, look, these refineries, they can sell them. The private owners can turn those establishments into something else. They can transform them. They can use them as, a platform for greater innovation. Finally, what's that topic? NRS, Nigeria Revenue Service, is SA Media saying that, look, there is nothing like vehicle tax. I've always said, government officials have always said that there's a lot of misinformation, there's a lot of disinformation. But the major task with that tax laws, 4 of them, now we have Taiwo Yedele in the Sadu as Minister of Finance, is that you have to keep explaining these tax laws to Nigerian people. And it's not an episodic event. It's not something you do once and then you leave it. So that explanation, if possible, in Nigerian languages is very important. So that way you close the gap for mischief makers who will just come up, go to social media, do some kind of graph and say, oh, this is what they are trying to do. Before you know it, it's gone viral. Government must be proactive. The NRS must stay ahead of the battle to see that if there's any rumor or misinformation, they attack it. They've done this, but they should make it loud. How do they say it in Nigerian English? They should loud it. Well, I hope that's correct English.